Hello, everyone. Thank you for clicking in and hearing what I have to say about Dune. First, I want to talk about why I got excited for this movie. I love the first book and how it influenced the stories we know today, such as Star Wars. I especially love that it's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who made Blade Runner 2049, Arrival, just to name a few. And he's proven to be a great director who understands how to create some sci-fi complex movies. And another thing is the score is by Hans Zimmer. He is my favorite composer. He did score for many great movies. Like just to name a few would be The Dark Knight, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Lion King. Another thing that I like is the cinematography is by Greg Fraser, who is the DOP for great movies, great looking movies like Rogue One, episodes of The Mandalorian, and soon The Batman. Another thing I like is the huge cast that involves big names like Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya, who are building such a great career at such a young age. It also has Rebecca Ferguson, who you might know from Mission Impossible, Jason Momoa, Aquaman himself, Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Thanos and Cable, Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron, who you probably wouldn't recognize, but he's Eric Selvig from Thor, Dave Bautista, David Dastmalchian, who you might recognize as Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad. I had the great privilege to see this film in IMAX. It was my first ever IMAX experience, and I'm very glad it was because it truly felt like it was made for the IMAX experience. The the visuals are amazing. It perfectly blends natural environment with CGI, and the score, the sets, the costume, and the sound design do such a good job at building this world, giving you some visual cues and understanding the different factions. And another thing I just appreciate, just a little thing, just the little things like how it's shot on location and uses practical sets and effects. Usually, a high budget blockbuster like Dune would be made with an overabundance of green screens and CGI, and I just appreciate how Denis Villeneuve wanted to treat this the same way he would treat a an indie film. And I gotta say, Denis Villeneuve has always been an expert at making an atmospheric movie, and Dune is no exception. He really never fails at score, sound, and visuals, and you can practically feel the beauty of the desert. I'd say some of the best things that this film does a good job taking its time with world building. It can be a bit of a slow burn, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's certainly necessary to give the viewer time to really breathe in the information that of this complex and dense story. And I gotta say, the with this ensemble cast, this Timothy Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson especially bring in their A game with their performances and truly embody the characters from the book. And something that can be a bit controversial is that this is only half a story since it's only adapting half the book. And I can see why people might criticize how the ending seems a bit abrupt. But if you try to think about Paul Atreides, his journey, think of it in this movie as a coming of age kind of story. How he's a, as Denis Villeneuve would explain, it's simply a boy learning to become a man. And if you were to see the final fight, don't take it, never take take things literally with Denis Villeneuve. Try to think of it in a metaphorical sense and think of it's more of a battle of identity, so to speak. And something that's a real critique I have with this movie is how some of the dialogue for exposition can be awkward and some of it and a bit out of place, but it's certainly necessary for the average viewer to in order to understand this world, it's certainly necessary why it had to be that way. And I say for casual viewers, I'd say it they're given enough exposition to understand this movie going in blind. There are certainly a lot of details that this movie didn't thoroughly explain that those who read the book will don't really need it, but and if you've read the book, you'll certainly understand this movie better. Now, let's talk about some of the comparisons people would make. Um, I'd hope that most people know that Dune was first published in 1965, long before stories like Star Wars and Game of Thrones would come out, even though a lot of people might co- say Dune find Dune similar to those stories. And hell, even the trailer would call it the next Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. And I wouldn't say it's valid. It's very different. Dune is a bit more of a political drama, and I would only find the only valid comparison to those two trilogies are that they are Oscar bait movies that just happen to have a blockbuster budget. And I might find Game of Thrones season one a more accurate comparison to Dune, how it's really able to set up the story, set up the characters, and really be more of a political drama. But I wouldn't call Game of Thrones season one like that accurate of a comparison to Dune. But that's just me. Overall, Dune is a solid start to the franchise that I'm very glad it's able to continue with a sequel. I'm very glad that it's it's got Warner Bros. Best opening, domestic opening at the box office of the year, and it additionally did well at on HBO. I encourage you all to go see this film in theater to truly appreciate its production value, and I hope that this is the kind of movie that is made more often. We need like a movie that's just an art house, and that it can and that the general audience can would be anticipated to see this. Thank you so much for watching this. Be sure to subscribe, like this, and have a good day. Let the spice flow.